The housing crash and a liquidity crisis is coming. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of a banker, okay? A lot of people I've talked to have reduced spending, right? They're trying to find ways to fight inflation at the grocery store, at the gas station, and just about every other thing that they're trying, the electricity, the water, whatever, gas is all creeping up on us. And I think it's going to get just a little bit worse in the near future here, within the next 60 days. Okay, so let's talk about liquidity crisis. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of a banker. Okay, so let's say every 90% of the country is cutting back on spending because they have to re-budget their paychecks to survive, feed their family, get to work. And so that means they're spending less at businesses. So why is FedEx laying off a ton of workers right before the holidays? This is supposed to be when they start hiring people, when they are the busiest of the year. Why is Amazon laying off thousands and thousands of employees before the holiday? That's got to be a sign that you can focus on that applies towards the housing market that isn't directly the housing market. So right now we've got a lot of people that have homeowners that have super low interest rates. They don't want to sell. Okay, and then we have a lot of buyers that we're at a 40-year low in affordability. The prices are high, the interest rates are high. Yes, we had a 0.5% drop in mortgage rates, which seems to be kind of holding out. We're in the 10-year treasuries around 3.7 something, 3.8 something, which is way below the 4.3 that we saw a few months ago. So that's good news. But will it hold here? Was that the peak of interest rates? I don't think so. I don't think we've even begun to feel the effects of the Fed's raising rates. So currently, the U.S. consumer is at an all-time high in credit card debt. We are at the highest level of credit card debt we have ever been. Okay, that's one sign. And then another sign is we are at the lowest savings rate that I think we've ever been. I mean, don't quote me on that, but it is super low. I think it's below 4%. So you combine all these factors, and the feds are saying that they want to reset the housing market. They're just plain out saying it. So when you're a banker and you're lending money to businesses that are going to slow down, and some of these businesses are kind of phantom businesses, when things are going good, they're great, but when things slow down, they're not making any money, they're losing money. And therefore, as a banker, are you going to lend money to these businesses? No, I think you're going to pull back on your lending and be very, very frugal in who you're going to lend money to. And that includes the housing market. Now, I have seen some first-time home buyer, no down payment assistance programs coming around, but for a minute there, they kind of shut down. But I believe, this is my personal opinion, not financial advice, is that in 2023, we are going to see another 10% drop in home prices, which is very welcome for affordability. 40% of our buyer pool is the millennials. They are the ones that are the first-time home buyers that can't afford to buy a home at these prices. We need to see more homes in the 200s, and not just the homes that are dilapidated or don't have any drywall inside or stuff like, because that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing homes in the 200s that are really beat up and need a lot of work. Therefore, by the time you get done investing in rehabbing these homes, they're going to be in the 300s, possibly 400s, because they're starting in the high 200s. So there's going to be a lot of job losses here, and we've already seen, Facebook and Amazon and FedEx and Twitter, and a lot of the tech jobs are laying off. Okay, now also, so if you put yourself in the banker's shoes, you can see why there's going to be a liquidity crisis. Now, I also want to mention that CBDC, central bank digital currencies, are being tested out right now with a lot of major banks here in the US. This is something that is, in my opinion, completely evil. It's for more control over the people by the government, which is absolutely, I mean, China says that their CBDCs will expire. So if you don't use your money that they've given you, or that they've transferred from the yen to the CBDC, then it will expire. And the reason for that is they want to stimulate the economy, forcing consumers to spend their money into the economy, and therefore, if you don't spend it, they're going to take it away from you, basically tax the rest of it, right? So no more savings. That's not good. That is absolutely not good. So I think fiat currencies are in big trouble. I think that's another thing that we have to focus on here. There's a banking crisis, and it's not the Lehman Brothers banking crisis, but what we're seeing right now is huge fallout in the crypto space, right? And there are banks that are highly leveraged, are over leveraged in the space. They're not supposed to be, using the pension funds from Canada, the Teachers Pensions Fund, to leverage in crypto, but they did. And that was one of the fallouts of the FTX. Now we're going to see Genesis fall out. We're going to be seeing, I think Tether is the next big shoe to drop here, which is 3 times as big as the FTX scandal. And yes, it was a scandal. You have the US government sending money over to Ukraine, Ukraine sending money back to FTX, which is the crypto exchange, and then FTX sending money back to the Democrats' campaign slush funds. So they were the second largest donors to the Democrats, second only to George Soros. So if you support George Soros's idealistic way of life, well, that's on you. I am not a proponent of George Soros and don't endorse that whatsoever. So I made a bunch of notes here. People will always need to buy and sell in any economy, right? You're always going to have death. You're always going to have divorce. You're always going to have job loss. You have relocation. So the sales will never stop. So people always need to buy or need to sell. That's just a given. But if you don't need to buy and don't need to sell, I think Phoenix, if you could wait another 6 to 9 months, you'll see amazing deals start to come across the table. So just create a buy box of what is important to you. I want, X amount of garage. I want a pool or no pool. I need this many bedrooms. I want to be in this area or this school for my children, or I want to be closer to my work, or I want to completely live away from all people. Everybody has their own buy box, right? So just study those, create a buy box, understand what you can afford. Here's your gross income, here's 30% going towards my mortgage. I think it is always important for everyone to own, because owning creates equity. But buying at the right time, you'll never be able to time the bottom, but buying at a good time is important. At least it is to me. So I think next year is going to be extremely rough for everyone financially, because it's a manufactured recession or depression probably. I think we're going to see more like a depression. My personal opinion is, we have this bullish run on the stock market, but I think that we're going to see below at least 3,000 on the S&P, maybe lower. I think that's where it goes. So it goes up, and then it goes down, then it goes up a little bit, then it goes down further, and it goes up a little, and it goes down further. And I think that's what's going to happen. And I think we may stay flat in housing. Once here in Phoenix, we lose X amount of percentage in pricing, that's my guess, is that we're going to stay kind of flat for years to come. And until building catches up, I think, we won't see a bottom. But I think in 2030, they say you will own nothing and be happy, meaning they are trying to create the powers to be, the World Economic Forum that controls all these politicians, has a goal in mind, and that is for everybody will own nothing, and you will rent, and you will rent everything. You will rent a ride to the store. You will use the autonomous driver to get to work. You will work from home. You'll share office space. You'll share a big house with other families. That's where I think they see it going. That's where they want it to go. So buying a house and securing your future and securing your equity is very important. And I hope my children see this, and I hope everybody looks at it the way I do, and that owning a home, you don't have a landlord. You don't have anybody telling you you can and can't build your music studio in your house, or build out an extra garage, or how paint your house a certain color. Now that's an HOA thing, but at the end of the day, I'm looking back at 2018, 2019. My buy box says, okay, so let's add 3 to 6%. I'm going to use 5% just for an easy number. So if homes were in 2018 were 400,000, in 2019 that would bring it to 420, 2020 441, 463 in 2022, 486 in 2022, and 510 in 2023. So if you're doing some research, you really want to buy a house, I think everybody should own a home. Those are the things that I'm looking at to make sense. Plus, is it going to cash flow if I'm buying a rental? I'm not finding anything that's logical to put 20% down on and cash flow. Now, there are going to be scenarios if you put your name out there and say, hey, yes, I am looking to buy. So I hope this information was helpful. I feel like it all starts with the seller concessions. Prices are dropping, but it's in the form of seller concessions, like 3-2-1 buy downs, or I'm going to pay all your closing costs. I'm going to give 3% of the sales price to you. Instead of lowering the sales price, basically what you're doing, if you buy into that, is you're financing the closing cost. You are financing that 3-2-1 buy down because you're paying a higher price. Okay, so that's the gimmick. That's when sales slow down. Our industry tries to get things rolling with that type of, I'm going to call it gimmick, because a temporary buy down is just that. It's just temporary, and you are financing it because you're paying a higher price. So let's be smart. Let's build a buy box. If you have any questions on what you can afford, I'd be happy to answer that for you. Whatever's best for you is what I'm looking for. I'm set. I'm willing to ride it out and tell you the truth about buying right now. So I think it is not a great time to buy. If you need to buy, I would probably offer, maybe try and offer 10% less in a place that you really like. And maybe that will protect you for the next year of falling home prices. And I've given you the reasons why I think home prices are going to fall: because of a liquidity crisis, because of high interest rates, and because of inflation. Affordability. Those are all factors that are right in front of our face. And anybody that tells you marry the house means you're marrying the price right now, dating the rate. But if you put a small down payment of say 3 or 5% down and it falls 10%, guess what? You can't change the interest rate because you're upside down. So consider that. Marry the house, marry the price is just a dumb saying. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Get a good deal, get a decent payment that you can afford. That's the most important thing. That's fixed, that stays the same for 30 years. If you can, 15 years, but that's a lot higher. Hey, I appreciate you watching, and I'm sorry I'm slacking on the videos. There's not much happening in the market right now. It's very slow, it's very even, and it's going to change here come January. I think that's when we're going to start seeing more inventory come to the market and prices dropping and more competition. So hang in there. I think we got another 6 to 9 months to go before we really see these prices come down. Appreciate you watching. Until next time.